Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Thank you very much for being here. My name's Gavin. This is my program. On this program, we like to cut through the fluff of true crime, all the sensationalism, get down to the nitty gritty. That means getting into documents. That means reading well-written articles, looking at well-produced newscasts, and hopefully not losing our temper when reporters get it wrong. I had a hard time yesterday. And, speaking of frustration, this case that we're talking about today had a very important event. We're talking about of course, we're talking about the just tragically sad case of Emmanuel Haro. This family is an Hispanic family. They pronounce it Emmanuel Haro, which is the way it's supposed to be pronounced. But apparently, when I do that, people get angry. So we're just going to stick with Haro, okay? We are English speaking around here for the most part. So we're going to do that. But anyway, Emmanuel was a 7-month-old baby. On the 14th of August, just a little less than 2 weeks ago, his mother, Rebecca Haro, reported to police that she was at Big Five in the parking lot, was about to change the baby's diaper when she heard somebody say, "Hola." She says she turns and then saw white, has no idea what happened, didn't see a face, didn't see anything. She was knocked out. When she came to, the baby was gone. And of course, we watched some videos yesterday that were so frustrating. I might bring them up again. Yeah, you guys are gonna have to bear with me as I bring these up, because it's just the tearless, described as tearful plea to the assailant is something to behold. But it's not really what we're talking about today. In Emmanuel's case, his parents, Jake and Rebecca, were to have their arraignment today. In fact, they did allow some cameras in the courtroom, though, like, again, I'm so frustrated we didn't get to see much that happened in the courtroom from the news outlets, probably because not much happened in the courtroom today. But one thing that was important that did happen was charges were filed. They're officially charged with the murder of 7-month-old, their baby, Emmanuel. This is a photo, by the way, that some people think, including apparently one ME, that the child might be passed away already in this photo. I don't see it, but anyway. Let's get into, where should we start? Let's start with the local news, shall we? Let me get to the right place on my screen. Yeah, let's begin there. Oh, this is Court TV.
We've hit the pause button on this testimony to bring you some breaking news out of California. The parents of a missing baby, Emmanuel, who's been the subject of a nationwide search, has just been charged with his murder. Both of those parents have. The police arrested Jake and Rebecca Haro in their Southern California home on Friday. But it wasn't until today that charges were filed against the couple, including that murder charge. The search for the 7-month-old's body is still ongoing. Court TV's Matt Johnson is in California on the ground for us. He will bring us updates on what is happening there later today. We'll, of course, bring you the updates both here and online.
Now, I haven't seen these updates. Which, I mean, I hope they bring them to us, because I really would like Court TV to give us a report. Let's go to local LA. I think this is NBC4. Here we go.
We begin with that breaking news in the Inland Empire, a major break in the case of a 7-month-old missing for more than a week now. The parents of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro have now been charged for his murder. The baby boy disappeared August 14th, and investigators are still searching for him. NBC4's Christian Cáceres is live in Riverside, where his parents made their first court appearance today. Christian.
Annabelle, good afternoon to you. And that's right, as you mentioned, Jake and Rebecca Haro were charged with murder and also for filing a fake police report. But as you mentioned, they made their first court appearance today. Take a look.
So for Mr. Haro, the court will...
Well, the parent...
That is the grand total of what we need to take a look at. That is it. Like, hey, take a look. They were in court. Here they are.
Of 7-month-old
And that's it.
Emmanuel Aro were supposed to be arraigned today inside a Riverside courtroom, but the judge pushed the case to next month because the couple's public defender said they had limited information, meaning no police report and only the complaint, which was actually filed today. Now, it's been 12 days since the couple reported their missing son from the shopping center in Yucaipa. That's when the boy's mother, Rebecca, said she was attacked from behind while changing his diaper in the parking lot. When she regained consciousness, she says her son was gone. For several days, sheriff investigators searched for the boy, but an Amber Alert was never issued. Investigators said the parents' story started becoming inconsistent. And last Friday, both Jake and Rebecca were arrested at their Cabazon home as the whereabouts of their son remain unknown. Today, several families came together outside the courthouse in support for the missing boy.
It seems like he didn't have a lot of love in his life, and so I just felt like it was important to come out here and just show him, that people do care.
And according to
By the way, I watched about an hour and a half of a live stream on Pascal's channel, the Pascal Show. Pascal Show? I don't know how you pronounce. I should know that, but I watched about an hour and a half of it, and he was showing some TikTok lives and things like that from people outside the courthouse. Indeed, there were people out there just waiting for news about what was going on. A lot of people talking to locals and speculating about certain things. I'm not totally comfortable doing that, not because it's wrong. It's because I don't know what it is they're going to say if I'm watching somebody else's live, right? And I've got a little issue with that. But there was one man, I'm blanking on his name. He's been on Court TV. He's been on News Nation. He has a YouTube channel, a local guy. When Rebecca and Jake came into the courtroom, he actually yelled out, "Hola." And he actually got sanctioned for it. He apologized for it. I think he was taken out of the courtroom. He could have been facing some contempt charges, but got out of those. Anyway, yeah, tempers and emotions are high for very good reason. Got a 7-month-old little boy that is missing, presumed dead. Anyway.
documents obtained by NBC4 investigates, Jake was convicted in 2021 for cruelty to a child and in 2024 for being a felon in possession of a handgun. And Annabelle, I have to mention that Jake and Rebecca Aro's case, again, has been pushed to next month. And hopefully the public defender says they will have a private attorney. But again, they're hoping.
Okay, now I want to talk about that just a little bit, okay? And we're going to get into the documents, but that's not perfectly reported. And of course, he's doing his best. What's his name, Christian?
All of this.
He is doing his best to tell a story in a minimal amount of time. So my hat's off to him for writing and reporting a good story. However, it's not perfectly correct. This is what is going on. The public defender is saying that they cannot defend both parties. They need separate counsel. And so the public defender's office is going to defend one of them, either Jake or Rebecca Haro. And then they, on the taxpayer's dime, they are going to get a private attorney to represent the other party. So they just, I guess there's a conflict. And I think that is it's a second indication that we've got a bifurcation happening between these two parties, between Jake and Rebecca, right? Rebecca, we read an article yesterday, was sitting in jail saying, like, sticking to her story. The man came out of nowhere. He hit me in the face. He knocked me out. He took my child. I will not rest until I find the assailant of my child, the perpetrator who took my child. Meanwhile, Jake is out with sheriff's deputies out there in San Bernardino County, or Riverside. I can't remember exactly where, Moreno Valley, something like that, helping them look ostensibly for a body. That's what the sheriff's office said. So there is a bifurcation here. Therefore, we need, I think they would have needed it anyway, but they definitely need two different attorneys to represent these folks.
Comes together within the next couple of days, but we're also learning.
Let me go back real quick because I kind of spoke over him. I'm just going to go back a few minutes. Sorry, one more thing that I keep noticing. When we look at the video of Jake Haro in court, he looks perfectly comfortable. Rebecca, not so much, right? I mean, look, here's Jake Haro in court, handcuffed in his little red jumpsuit. He has been here before. She has not. She is uncomfortable. She does not want her picture taken. She is not prepared for this, right? All right, let's continue. I will do my best not to interrupt.
And hopefully the public defender says they will have a private attorney. But again, they're hoping that all of this information comes together within the next couple of days. But we're also learning that tomorrow, the Riverside County District Attorney's Office, they plan on releasing more information about this case. They're holding a press conference tomorrow morning where we know the San Bernardino and the Riverside County Sheriff's Departments, they're both going to be there. So stay tuned to that. That's the very latest from Riverside. Christian Casares, NBC4 News.
All right, Christian did a pretty darn good job there. Now, so tomorrow there's going to be a press conference, as Christian just said, and I think that's at about 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is my time. I don't know if I'm going to be able to cover it live, but we'll probably cover it tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Okay. Now, one other thing that came out in this report. This was to be their arraignment, but the public defender's office are like, we cannot represent these clients. We have just gotten the criminal complaint this very day. Therefore, we move to continue the arraignment until September 4th, and that is what happened. It was scheduled for September 4th. I do not believe that equals a waiver of their right to a speedy trial. I think that probably was just the next time that arraignment court was scheduled, or that there was a space available in arraignment court. So they're moving that arraignment to September 4th. Okay. Now, the last video that we are going to take a look at is this one before we get into some documents. Okay. So let me bring up this one. This is from KTLA 5. They're reporting on the same events. It's slightly different. Here we go.
Now at noon, breaking news. Murder charges have been filed against the parents of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro.
Thanks for joining us for the KTLA 5 News at noon. I'm Lou Parker.
And I'm Lauren Lister in for Glenn Walker. It has been nearly 2 weeks since baby Emmanuel was reported missing after what officials call a bogus kidnapping in the Inland Empire.
And today, his parents are expected to appear in court to face murder charges. KTLA 5's Jean Kang live at the courthouse in Riverside with an update. Jean.
Hi, good afternoon, Lauren and Lou, to both of you. Well, I've been in close contact with the DA's office, and they just filed those charges formally against Emmanuel Haro, that baby's parents. Well, both of them are now in jail. They're being held on $1 million bail each, so $2 million total. We know that arraignment is going forward at 1:30 this afternoon. That's going to be here at the Riverside Hall of Justice. Take a look at this, though. If you haven't seen this, both of them were arrested on Friday, as you see in this video.
We have seen
the parents of Emmanuel Haro, that 7-month-old baby, they were arrested at their Cabazon home. Court documents filed today reveal prosecutors believe the baby was murdered between August 5th and the 14th. That's new information. Up to 9 days before Rebecca claimed her baby was kidnapped.
And remember, I think it was August 12th that Rebecca went to the Big 5 Sporting Goods to see if there were any cameras. That's what it looks like. They were casing Big 5 to see if there were any cameras.
A Big 5 store parking lot in Yucaipa. The couple is also charged with filing a false police report on August 14th. That's the same day they reported the alleged kidnapping of their baby. The mother made an emotional public plea at the time for his return, even doing TV interviews. Baby Emmanuel supporters today here by the Hall of Justice demand justice for that child.
I wanted to come out here and just show support for the baby because I feel like he doesn't have a voice right now. So, you know, it seems like he didn't have a lot of love in his life, and so I just felt like it was important to come out here and just show him, that people do care.
Then there's this in a recent.
It's like the news organizations only had one person that they could interview, because we saw the woman on the street thing, or the man on the street thing. I don't like all that much. But anyway, one thing that I will say that I think is super important here, guys, and Pascal brought it up earlier today as well, that I thought was TWRR blah 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 terrific, right? The reason, how do I put this? Because I don't want to put down our brothers and sisters in law enforcement, because I think they do a terrific job by and large. However, I do think that the amount of attention that has come to this story, not only from the local news, but from TikTokers, YouTubers, people that are local, people that are maybe for the first time activists about a case like this, that are just so distraught and so upset that a 7-month-old child could be the victim of murder at the hands of his parents. I think that the fact that we've got so many people covering this, we've got so many people showing up, I think that is putting pressure on law enforcement to cross their T's and dot their lowercase j's. I think I think that this kind of pressure is important. And this goes back, for me anyway, all the way back to Gabby Petito, where her parents masterfully involved new media and social media in the attempt to find their daughter alive. And ultimately, the ability of law enforcement to find their daughter's remains, because I think it was only because of people coming forward, talking on platforms like TikTok and YouTube, that Gabby Petito was found as soon as she was. So I think we keep doing this. I just think we keep doing this, no matter what kind of pressure we get from the establishment. I think we keep doing it because I think law enforcement does need that pressure. Not because I don't think they're professionals, not because I don't think they can't do their job. I think, though, the pressure helps them do it better.
Jailhouse interview, Rebecca maintained her innocence, saying, quote, "I will not give up on my baby," adding that she wished that she was out there searching for him. Reports say she visited the same Big Five store just days before the reported alleged kidnapping of baby Emmanuel, asking about surveillance cameras after claiming her car was burglarized. On Sunday, Jake was spotted in a jail jumpsuit during a massive search in the Badlands area near Moreno Valley. More than a dozen sheriff's vehicles and cadaver dogs searched that location for hours. Jake was not part of the search officially, but he was at that site. Unfortunately, detectives found nothing. The case has drawn national attention, as we know. Court records show Jake pleaded guilty to child cruelty. That was back in 2018. Prosecutors also plan to introduce evidence of prior domestic violence incidents. Deputies responded to a new child abuse call recently involving the Haros just last Thursday. Now back out here live, of course, we are going to be there in the court.
That reminds me, the next article we read before we get to the documents is going to be from the New York Post. I want to read that.
Room here in Riverside County at 1:30 for that arraignment. We have also requested that cameras be allowed to record in the courtroom, but that is up to a judge. We're waiting on all of that as the documents are now in court. Reporting live here in Riverside, Gene Kang, KTLA 5 News.
Okay, so that there was a little bit new there. Okay, let's run over to Acrobat. Bring you guys over here. Before we get to this, I want to read a couple of articles. Maybe this one. Okay, this is out of the New York Post, okay? They're a little late to the party sometimes, and I also kind of think this was written maybe by AI, but what do I know? Okay, Jared Downing. The California couple suspected of murdering their 7-month-old son, Emmanuel Haro, were officially charged in his death today. after being linked to a child abuse report called in on the day he vanished. Jake and Rebecca Haro face a murder rap and a charge of filing a false police report, where I'm going to look at those documents shortly, after they told cops their baby was abducted by a mysterious fisticuffs throwing stranger outside a sporting goods store in San Bernardino on August 14th. Authorities have cited inconsistencies in Rebecca's story that led them to suspect the parents, but offered no further details, including why they believe Emmanuel is dead. His body is yet to be found, but Riverside County Sheriff's revealed that they responded to a report of suspected CA near the sporting goods store on the same day Emmanuel vanished, and that the Haros are linked to the probe. Okay, that's number one. We're going to take a look at a document that we looked at yesterday, but let me keep going. So they responded to a report of suspected CA near the sporting goods store on the same day Emmanuel vanished. By the way, the Haros, let me open up a new tab here real quick. Let's go to maps. I cleared my cache earlier today, and now I have to type in everything. Give me just 1 second while I search this. It's 50008 Ramona Street in Cabazon. Let me do Big 5 Sporting Goods. No, that's not going to do. Okay. Anyway, let me bring you over here real quick. I'm just looking at a map here. This is the house that they were arrested at. This is the house that they lived at. When we look at this, you'll notice in the background, this is the house in the background of everything. I thought that their house was near the sporting goods store, but no, it's like 20 miles away. So never mind. Okay. So getting back over here, Sheriff said the report involved a home on Cottonwood Avenue in Moreno Valley, just down the road from the Big 5 Sporting Goods, where Rebecca, 41, claimed an unseen man knocked her unconscious and carried off Emmanuel. It doesn't matter. I was going to say, like, you can definitely, like, somebody can punch somebody else and knock them out for sure. But it does actually take some skill to do that on purpose. So if I hear that somebody got punched and they, like, one sucker punch and they get knocked out, I'm suspicious. It can happen, but anyway. The couple also has a 2-year-old daughter who is now in the custody of the Riverside County Child Protective Services, according to NBC4. Quote, the investigation is related to the Haros and no further details are available, close quote, authorities said in a statement referring to the CA report. On August 21st, 2025 at 12:30 p.m., deputies were dispatched to the 2300 block of Cottonwood Avenue, Moreno Valley, regarding the report of CA. Now, I just want to point out an inconsistency here. August 21st is not the day that Emmanuel was reported to have been taken by the fisticuffs throwing assailant, right? That was a week before, on the 14th. So I'm not sure what they're talking about, but we are going to go to the other document, the calls for service, okay? Investigators responded to the location regarding the allegations, and the investigation remains ongoing. No further details are available at this time. Rebecca maintained Emmanuel had been abducted even after her arrest, insisting she had nothing to do with her son's disappearance and that he could still be alive. Quote, I want to be out looking for my baby. I will not give up. I will not blah, 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 blah. Okay? All right. Let's go over to the call for service. Now, when I looked at this, and I kind of have to, because it doesn't want to scroll for me when I zoom up on it. I want you guys to be able to see everything. And I think, no, gotta go. There we go. You can see everything there. Okay. On the 14th, there was an AOD call, which I think, at least in my research, that means assisted other department or agency. So that may have been the call at the Big 5. I don't see anything on the 21st, at least from Riverside County Sheriff's, though on the 20th, man, a lot of things happened that day on the 20th. Keeping the peace, suspicious person. What is a check? Hold on, I have to remember what this is. I have it. Where do I have it? I have it right here. A check is area check, and then a 242 is a battery. So one of the things that I'm concerned about is that maybe people are descending on that house, or like somebody. I mean, we don't want to do this to anybody, okay? We don't want to go to a house. We don't want to threaten. We don't want to dox. We don't want to do any of those things, okay? The reason that I share this address is simply because it does seem to be the center of a crime, not just somebody's private residence, not only someone's private residence. But on the 20th, I'm not sure what all that is. It seems to me that it probably is people who are upset at the ROs, like for good reason, and are causing trouble there at the house. Okay, let's go to the document that was filed today. Okay, this is the felony complaint. Should we pause here for a second to read you guys your comments? Or should we? I think I'm just going to go on, okay? All right, Superior Court of California, County of Riverside. By the way, I looked it up. The Inland Empire is comprised of two counties, Riverside and San Bernardino counties. They are on the east side of Southern California to the east of Los Angeles. So when they say Inland Empire, they're saying Riverside, San Bernardino. Okay, our defendants are Jake Mitchell Haro and Rebecca Renee Haro, our parents of the year here. All right, count one. The undersigned, under penalty of perjury upon information and belief, declares that the above-named defendants, Jake Mitchell Haro, Rebecca Renee Haro, committed a violation of Penal Code Section 187, Subdivision A, a felony, in that on or about August 5th through and including August 14th. That is a big window, 9-day window. Well, inclusive, that's 10 days, right? In the county of Riverside, state of California, the defendants did willfully and lawfully murder baby doe E.H., which I know why they do that. It's a juvenile, but Emmanuel Otto, right? A human being. And this right here it's 25 years. The possible sentence could be 25 years to life, and death. This is California, where they do have the DP, though there has been a moratorium on the DP for decades. I was raised in California. This is my adopted home state, not where I was born, but where I was raised. So they're facing 25 to life. They're also facing DP, which they might seek, though the actual penalty would never be imposed. Okay, count number two, that the above-named defendants, Jake Mitchell Haro, Rebecca Renee Haro, committed a violation of Penal Code 148.5, Subdivision A, a misdemeanor, in that on or about August 14th, in the county of Riverside, state of California, the defendants did willfully and unlawfully report to a police officer, deputy sheriff, and member of the California Highway Patrol that a felony and misdemeanor has been committed, knowing that report to be false. So false report to police is count two. Now there's the 1109 notice. Pursuant to section 1109 of the Evidence Code, evidence of the defendant's commission of other acts of DV may be admissible at trial in a criminal action in which the defendants are accused of an offense involving DV. The people hereby give notice of the people's intent to admit evidence of prior acts of DV pursuant to Evidence Code Section 1109. These incidents include the prior incidents described in the police report, chronological report, and or tapes already provided, and other alleged incidents of, let's call it A, which will be provided as they are obtained by the prosecution. So in California, they can admit into evidence prior bad acts related to DV because this case has to do with DV. So that is bad news for Mr. Haro, who has 2 previous convictions, one for CA. Okay. All right. Next on this document has to do with Marsy's Law. Oh, yes. Okay. I remember Marsy's Law. It becomes self-evident. Okay. Information contained in the reports being distributed as discovery in this case may contain confidential information protected by Marsy's Law and the amendments to the California Constitution, Article 1, Section 28. Any victims and any above referenced charges is entitled to be free from intimidation, harassment, and abuse. It may be unlawful for defendants, defense counsel, or any other person acting on behalf of the defendants to use any information contained in the reports to locate or harass any victims or the victim's family, or to disclose any information that is otherwise privileged and confidential by law. I want to just really look up Marsy's Law. Marsy's Law, the California Victims Bill of Rights Act of 2008, enacted by voters as Proposition 9. I remember this. Okay. Through the initiative process in the November 2008 general election is an amendment to the state's constitution and certain penal code. The background: Marsy Nicholas was a sister of Henry Nicholas, the co-founder and former co-chairman of the board, president, chief executive of Broadcom. In 1983, Marsy, then a senior at UC Santa Barbara, was stalked and murdered by her ex-boyfriend. Her murderer, Kerry Michael Conley, was tried by a Los Angeles jury and sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole in 17 years. Although Conley died in prison from a heart infection complicated by diabetes 1 year before Marsy's Law passed in November 2008, the Nicholas family attended numerous parole hearings, which bothered them for years, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's named after Marsy Nicholas. Okay, so coming back over there with you, then there's the discovery request pursuant to Penal Code Section 1054.5, Subdivision B. The people are hereby informally requesting that defense counsel provide discovery to the people as required by that section. And this is signed by Assistant District Attorney Brandon G. Smith on behalf of the Office of Michael A. Hestron, the Riverside County District Attorney. Okay, that's what now I have a couple more things that we can go to, but let's bring up Emmanuel's little Mr. Manny. Let's bring up his photo and see what you guys are saying. I think I'm going to have to refresh. Scroll all the way to the top. Woo! Yeah, okay. So Natalia saying the police filing says the boy may have been missing as early as the 5th. Indeed. By the way, if we go back to the calls for service, was there anything near the 5th? It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like it. But man, they had a lot of people over there over the years. Just so much stuff. Suspicious person. 647H is prowling and loitering. Suspicious circumstances. Probably mail-related theft. Petty theft. Burglary in process. Unattended death. Child welfare, wellness check, disturbance, assisting other agency, minor crime investigation, keeping the peace, area check, and battery. Guys, My house, the house that we live in, I should say our house, was built in the early 1900s, right at the turn of the century. Okay. I think the police have been to this. If there was a report that goes all the way back to like 1900, I don't think we would find a single report at this house. And here we are looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 18, 19, what, 19 or 20 police, I guess, responses to the same address in just over 5 years. There's something wrong at that house. Something wrong. Huh. Maybe I just am blessed with an amazing neighborhood. My neighbors are awesome. Let's bring up a photo here. Thank you very much for that, Natalia. Let's see. Yeah, the court-appointed attorney did speak. He spoke briefly. I saw it on a TikTok live. It did not last for long. And then I couldn't find his what he said, but from memory, it was about that the whole we need to get a private attorney for one party thing. That's where I got that. I watched it and then couldn't find it again. TikTok has one purpose for me, okay, and only one, and that is the doom scroll. That is what TikTok. Oh, no. TikTok has two purposes for me. I now am kind of like the TikTok shopper. I got this for my hair to keep it out of my face when I'm working during the day, but not to wear it in public because it's embarrassing. Yeah, there are two purposes to TikTok for me: the doom scroll and now the TikTok shop. I'm just not good at the TikTok live at all. That stuff is so old. I am so old. But yeah, that's basically what he said. Thank you, Sandra. Scrolling on down. Susan Lewis says, right, in a case where they have contradictory defenses, it makes sense to have different representation. Indeed. JoJo's Crime Lines and Mysteries. Gavin, why can't they get two different public defenders to represent them? And I thought he was using the same attorney from his prior case. I have seen his attorney from his prior case talking. I've seen him on Banfield. I've seen him, I think, on the NBC affiliate there in LA. But I don't know that he's representing him in the criminal case. Maybe he is. But I haven't seen evidence of it. That only means that I haven't seen evidence of it. It's possible, right? As far as having two different attorneys from the public defender's office represent him at the same time, I think that boils down to having. Did you notice when? Let's go back to this document. Have you noticed that when an assistant district attorney files a motion or there's a filing of some sort, right? That filing is by the assistant district attorney, but it is from the district attorney. It's the assistant district attorney that is acting on behalf of the district attorney. I think maybe Tanya's here. Any lawyers out there, tell me in the comments. But I think that it's the same thing with the public defender. Assistant public defenders are working on behalf of the public defender. And it would be similar to having two different attorneys that are private attorneys working in the same law firm, the same private law firm against each other. They're representing the firm. Well, they're representing their client, but they're of the firm. I just think that there is a potential for cross-pollination, for corruption. So I think it needs to remain separate. I think it's perfectly appropriate, Jojo, for one to be represented by the public attorney's office and one to be represented by a private attorney being paid for, if they're indigent, by the public, by the county. I think it's proper. But I'm just a dude sitting in my office in Western Pennsylvania, right? Let's see. Lucia says, neither Jake nor Rebecca strike me. Ooh, very good use of neither and nor. Well done. Neither Jake nor Rebecca strike me as being very intelligent. Jake will turn on Rebecca. Monsters. Yeah, they'll turn on each other. I think Jake already has turned on her. He's going to save his own skin. And you're right. I don't think they're all that intelligent. Do you guys remember Gavin's golden rule or it's the iron rule? The iron law of criminal mastermindery. There, it came to me. Gavin's iron law of criminal mastermindery is, if you think you have what it takes to pull off a crime, to be a criminal mastermind, that is the evidence that you should look at that indicates that you do not have what it takes to be a criminal mastermind, right? Like, they cased the place a few days before. Hey, I'm just checking. Do you guys have security cameras? No? Okay. I might be back in a couple days. So dumb. It's just so dumb. So yeah, I think you're right. Cooler by the lake. How can he not know where he put the baby? Seems like he's just wasting the deputy's time. It's possible. It's also like, if we can get into, I'm very sorry about this because this is a little 7-month little boy, right? This is just a little baby boy crawling around, doing baby boy things. Oh my goodness, this is so just destructive to my happiness, man. But if they just dumped a little body out there in the Badlands, there are all sorts of bobcats, coyotes, and other scavengers and predators of opportunity that could scatter. So it might be that he's wasting their time. It might be that he's trying to make a deal. It also could be that he was under under the influence of some drug or alcohol when it happened. There's a lot of reasons for it, including what you said, cooler by the lake, wasting time. It could be a lot of different things. Great comment. Let me scroll down a little bit more here. Sandra says, people are also extremely upset of him even being out of prison after what he did to his 10-week-old child. Had they done their job, Emmanuel would still be with us, or more likely he never would have been born. But I follow what you're saying. I did a little bit of yada-yadaing this yesterday, but let me bring you guys over. This is the affidavit of probable cause in the complaint where Jake Harrow's little baby girl was abused. Now listen to this. Acute fracture of the posterior left rib, or fifth rib. Healing fractures of the lateral left 6th and 7th ribs, as well as the posterior left 10th through 12th ribs. Healing fractures of the right posterolateral 6th rib, as well as the posterior 9th through 12th ribs. Parietal bone fracture, skull fracture, brain hemorrhage. Significant vertebral soft tissue swelling of the neck. This could indicate shaking or squeezing. Healing tibia fracture on the right leg, broken leg. The baby suffered at least 2 seizures in the hospital, and the condition could have been fatal if medical attention was not sought. These injuries would have been very painful, caused the child to have difficulty breathing, irritable, and cry. A couple more on December 1st. This is kind of where I yada-yada'd. Loma Linda University Children's Hospital forensic pediatrician Dr. Daly completed the suspected child abuse and neglect examination on victim 1. On her report, give me a second. On her report, she stated the following opinion. V1 had findings of intracranial hemorrhage, brain injury, cervical spine injury, so spinal column in the neck, retinal hemorrhages. Retinal hemorrhages, sometimes we call this petechiae of the retinas, right? That could be caused by squeezing, by strangulation. Accompanied with lethargy and seizures, are consistent with acceleration-deceleration forces of the head with traumatic stress on the neck. Okay. The skull fracture is consistent with impact to the head. Multiple rib fractures are typically caused by a squeezing mechanism of the chest. The healing oblique tibial fracture is likely secondary to a traumatic twisting mechanism. Dr. Daly further stated the combination of the above findings in a premobile infant. This was a little baby, 10 weeks old. In the absence of a plausible history of significant trauma to explain the injuries, like maybe a car crash or something like that, right, is indicative of abuse head trauma. Child, or let's call it physical CA, and nutritional neglect. The history of a short fall onto the kitchen sink does not explain her extensive and severe head trauma or her multiple bilateral rib fractures. Yeah. And the rest all yada yada, because it's just him saying his story. So, Sandra, yeah, 100%. 100%. Thank you. Heck, Jess says, I heard a joke that her tears identify as visible. Should we? Hey, guys, real quick. I'm just going to repeat this as I often do. We take victims seriously. We take crime seriously. We take victims' families seriously. We don't take ourselves seriously. Okay? So every once in a while, we have to laugh to keep from crying. Give me a second. Let me find this. Yeah, this will do. Let me get this in a spot where I can show you guys. Right about there. Let's see if this will work. Hopefully it will. Yeah, it's not quite, but you'll get the idea.
The twists and turns continue in the murder mystery of a Riverside County baby who was first reported missing 2 weeks ago.
The parents of that baby were arrested last week on suspicion.
Let's not watch the whole thing. This is our friend Rob. Okay, here we go. He's going to describe it as tearful. It's going to trigger me, but here we go.
The boy's parents at first making a tearful plea for the public to help find him after Rebecca Harrell claimed she'd been attacked in a Big 5 parking lot in Yucaipa, reporting that her baby had been kidnapped. What do you want to say?
Please give him back to me. I beg you, please. Just give him back to me again. Please don't harm my son. Please, I'm begging you. Please, God, please.
But within less than a day,
a tear. You see anything? Yeah, those tears identify as visible. No. What does Jake have?
People started wondering if the parents were telling the truth. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department saying they had stopped cooperating with their investigators.
Didn't you say something? Yeah.
Some saying it was strange that in our interview with the parents, Jake Harrell was talking about his son in the past tense.
He was a healthy baby. He was crawling. He was kicking. He was playing with his toys.
I see no tears. They are invisible tears that identify as visible. Yeah. That's pretty funny, Jess. All right. Go back over to your comments here. Jojo says, Gavin, part of the problem is that justice was never fully achieved for Promise in the first place. And had it been, we probably would not be here right now. Yeah, I agree. One man's trash. Law enforcement failed this child. His dad served almost no time for the permanent disability of his daughter and allowed to make more kids and hurt them again, assuming it was him. Which, I mean, the police are saying that it's him. I mean, we have not seen the evidence of it yet. So we should be very careful about this. He's accused of it. It's alleged that they murdered their son. But judging on the part that we have access to, I feel like the charges are warranted. Let's see. Patty Olson, the last time I saw something so public in Riverside County was when one of the Turpin children escaped from the House of Horrors, where I think of 12 children, 11 being... was that Riverside County? You know, the Turpin daughter who bravely did what she did, she should be hailed as a hero. Now, she probably wants privacy for the rest of her life. But my goodness, that is a hero. She saved the lives of her brothers and sisters. And I think the same thing of, why am I blanking on names? The Utah family, Jody Hildebrand, who escaped from Jody Hildebrand's house. He saved lives. He saved his own life. He saved his sister's life. Ruby Frankie, the Frankie children. Yeah, that's they should be given awards. They should be given the Congressional Medal of Honor, whatever civilian, the highest civilian award is. That's what they should get, because they made that big of a difference in the lives of their siblings. Yeah. I agree with you, Patty. Thank you so much for reminding us of the Turpin's House of Horrors. That is a weird, weird case. Lucia says baby was probably shaken violently. One of the photos of the baby looked like the baby was suffering. Yeah. He does look like a baby that was failing to thrive, right? That's a chunky little monkey. And he had all of the future and value that we all have. I don't know I think that's just a sleeping baby, but probably a traumatized baby. But that's just my opinion. Thanks, Lucia. Sandra again. Gavin, that was part of the issue of this issue. What court to file in because where they live in the sporting goods store. Okay, thank you. Yeah, one's in Riverside County, one is in San Bernardino County. Gavin, have you seen the latest pictures of the memorial for Emmanuel? It's absolutely amazing. There's so much love and support for him, and the community gives me goosebumps. No, but let's look at it real quick. Let's see. Emmanuel Haro Memorial. Let's look at some images. I'm just going to... Give me just 1 second here, guys. I'm going to bring them up in my browser so you can see them. Yeah, okay. Come over here. And this is at the house there, right? That one's really small, but... Yeah, people are... I mean, this is shaking people. People care. And this is actually one of the reasons why I have so much hope for humanity, is that so many of us care. And we got to keep caring for this child, keep pressure on so that the charges stick and the investigation is done really well. Thanks for that, Jojo. Yeah, I did show some of this yesterday. Someone broke in and gave tours of the home for cash. Oh, come on. I was just talking about how I have hope for humanity. What are you doing? Oh, my goodness. Tanya coming in clutch with the info. Let's see. I think my system's going to refresh here in just a second. Surth River. Gavin, I think this has far more to do with not on the road as deputy DAs who let offenders who violate their probation slide. Brian Enton interviewed a Riverside DA this afternoon, and she all but said that. I'll have to check that out. Let's see. Brian Enton. He does some pretty great work, doesn't he? Let me see if he has anything that I can see on his website. That was 14 hours ago. He did let me just open this up. Let's see.
Or he's trying to lead them down a deceptive path. I don't know what his motive or his intent was, but clearly Jake is trying to appear as though he's cooperating with law enforcement, which would only serve one motivation, himself.
And you mentioned she hasn't changed her story. There's this new interview that she gave the Orange County Register, which is kind of unusual. Maybe not in this case because she was out talking before, but here she's talking to reporters now, even from the jail. But she said, "I will not give up. I will not give up on my baby." Insisted that she had a great relationship with her husband and that he is a good dad and he would never hurt a baby. What do you make of that?
I mean, quite honestly, it begs the question, what was her relationship like with Jake? Where did that?
By the way, look at where he is. That guy, that poor guy lives on the road. He lives in hotel rooms. And I had this lifestyle for I don't know how many years where like for 20 out of every 30 days I was somewhere else in the world. And that is tiring, man. It is tiring. Well, especially if you have a family, which I did, and I was out there doing that, to provide for the family. This guy, man, he is on the road everywhere.
Black eye come from? Was there some type of domestic violence involved between her and Jake? And she's terrified to still, even behind bars, tell the world what happened because, her husband's the culprit. That's one scenario. It could be that she's loyal to him and she doesn't know that he's turning on her by taking law enforcement out to the crime scene, taking law enforcement out to an alleged spot where they believe Manuel's body could have been. And she's just not in the know. There's a myriad of possibilities that could be occurring here with her. But it is strange that she's sticking to this story even while in custody and what I've seen being represented by counsel.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly the lawyer's not going to be happy that she's talking to
of course
reporters
not.
from the jail.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
So the charge right now for both of them is murder with malice. What does that mean? Where does that charge come in?
Right. So basically, when they booked both of them in, it's just murder. It has not been decided yet by the DA's office whether it's going to be murder in the first degree.
Yeah, keep in mind that they were arrested on suspicion of murder, but the charge didn't happen until today, which I find is real. They must have a certain amount of time that they can hold them, and I think with Jake, he had a parole violation. They could hold him for as long as they want.
Murder in the second degree, a special circumstance murder, all of those official charges will be decided by Mike Hestrin and the district attorney's office. Basically, they're just booked in under the charges of murder. Although it should be noted, I think it's really important, Brian, in Riverside County, there have not been very many murders that they have booked suspects on without the body being present. This is what we call a no body homicide in Riverside.
Right.
It's very unusual, let's say that, to book somebody in, two people, on a murder charge without having the body, because on a body carries a lot of forensic evidence, a lot of details, a lot of the story, usually.
You know what, though? The fact that in the charging document they have between the 5th and the 14th, there is some evidence, some circumstantial evidence that gives them that timeline. So there is, the law enforcement, the investigators have some information that we don't know. I'm obviously right, but anyway. But of course, the forensic evidence, the direct evidence, they don't have.
So the fact that that is not
they
in
might
this
have some
case
direct
tells
evidence.
me that there's probably quite a lot of evidence that San Bernardino Sheriff's Department has collected.
Okay.
And it's significant in order to put two separate charges on two separate parents for the charge of murder with malice. It just simply means murder. And now by tomorrow morning, when both are arraigned, the district attorney's office will decide potentially which degree of murder and whether it'll be a special circumstance murder.
Do you think that the prosecutors are concerned that they don't have a body right now, or do you think they have so much evidence?
They must have collected so much evidence out of that house that they must have tons of evidence, actually, after having listened to that, right? They have enough evidence to get probable cause to make the arrest, to make the charge. They must have gathered so much evidence, maybe in the form of photos and videos. It could be text messages, emails. I bet they grabbed a lot.
Other kinds of evidence that it's not really a worry.
I think it's probably something that they are talking about as far as proving the case that is an obstacle, for sure. Not having the body is always an obstacle. However, typically when you do file these cases, I'm sure they're sifting through all of the other evidence that they do have, whether it be cell phone data, ring camera video footage, forensics from the house, different witness statements, potential jail
forensics from the house. Maybe they have.
If they're going to choose to decide to file
like
charges and stick with murder for both of these two, I think what the district attorney's office is telling the world is that they have sufficient evidence to move forward, despite the fact that they don't have the body of baby Emmanuel just yet.
Let's see. We're just going to leave it there. Thank you very much, Sirth River, for telling us about that. I will watch that a little bit later. I appreciate that. I actually need to call back Sandy Greenberg here, so I want to wrap us up here in just a few minutes, but let me just go through your comments. Sandra says, I hate to say this and I apologize in advance, but it's California. Well, I'm a Californian, and I left California on purpose, so I know what you're saying. But I think their investigators will do a good job. Let's see. Let's get a couple of other people. Mama Mia says, I thought they said the father confessed. Not true. I hadn't heard that. Celeste says, I think the Turpin children are suing the state because their foster environment was as bad or worse. Oh, yeah. So sad. Oh, you are Lucia. You are of the Italian pronunciation, not Lucia. I will try to remember that. Okay. Let me just find... Emma, Fab True Crime Addict. Well, I'm glad you're here, Emma. Parents were walking around this past Thursday in Riverside County like no cares in the world. Ah, yeah. Wow. Sir River says most of the way through this interview. Maybe I just keep going. See if we
Nothing at all. Nothing. Not a scent from the dog, not a piece of clothing. It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
I don't know.
If these are truly what the injuries were to Jane Doe, CH, you would have seen plain as day that he severely injured this baby. And it was a far cry from the charge.
I think this is where it is. This is what we just read.
That they pled him to. I mean, even on his first offense, he should not have received probation and 180 days jail. That's unbelievable, really.
Yeah, and you just wonder if he was still behind bars, would baby Emmanuel be here today?
Well, not just that, Brian. I mean, then he had a violation of probation in July 2024, where he was taken into custody, immediately let out of custody. And mind you, he had this 6 years hanging over his head. It's called a suspended sentence from the original charge of hurting Jane Doe, CH. And again, nobody caught the severe injuries on the probation violation. The district attorney's office continued that probation hearing rather than demanding a hearing and sending him back to prison for 6 years on that violation. They continued it August 9th, October 7th, 2024, December 13th, 2024, April 25th, 2025. He was in court July 2nd, 2025, still with this 6 years hanging over his head, where they could have demanded the hearing and put him back in custody for 6 years. His next court day, Brian, is September 2nd, 2025, on that violation of probation.
Wow.
Any one of those months, they could have demanded to have this hearing and put him away. And he wouldn't have even been out of custody to hurt Emmanuel. But here we are.
So Emmanuel could still be.
And what about the
Emmanuel could have been born and still be here.
judge too? Couldn't the judge have gotten involved and said, "Why do we keep continuing this thing?"
Absolutely. The judge could have, the judge only knows as much facts as the district attorney, though, and the defense attorney give to him. So yes, he should have and could have at some point said, hey, it was coming up on a year. He had been on a violation of probation. That's a 45-minute hearing. Throw up the investigator and call it a day and send him off to the 6-year prison, or at least put him back in custody, but none of that happened here.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you think someone will get in trouble now? I mean, you worked at the office. Will they
No,
go back
nobody's
and
going to get in trouble. No.
I don't know. That's a really great question. The Banning office is kind of a different office than the downtown Riverside or the Indio office or the Marietta office. So they're kind of all ran a little bit different. Mike Hestron's responsible for all of them, but my experience is I don't think so.
Yeah, that won't happen. Wow. Thank you very much, Emma. Let's bring Emmanuel up. Just a couple more before we go. That was, I'm sorry, Surth River who said that. Thank you very much. Okay, a couple more. Let's see. I just want to give everybody an opportunity here. Mary Wilson says, Gavin, I don't believe baby Emmanuel had the physical capabilities to crawl. You can distinctly see changes in his face. He progressively begins to look like his older sister. He has head trauma. Wow. Yeah. Well, I mess up all the time, Surth River, but thank you for being patient with me. Melinda, am I the only one who reads GF as girlfriend? Should we change it to like QQQ, like other channels? I was just so like naive when I started doing GF that's what I did. But it kind of has become a thing on the channel. We could change it, but in the beginning, Melinda, I used to say, hey, GF doesn't mean girlfriend. It means Gavin. That's funny. Okay. Yeah. I do believe her statement, and she is courageous. Yeah. Guys, thanks so much. I have got to go. I have an appointment with who Kimberly calls my second mom. Sometimes when I talk to my actual mom, my mom asks, how's your second mom doing? I love Sandy Greenberg so much. She's just the best. So she and I have plans to talk tonight. So I got to go. Thank you very much for joining me. Again, tomorrow will be the press conference from the DA. We will not take it live, but we will do it tomorrow afternoon. We're going to stick on this case as long as we can, as long as we need to. I do know that there are a whole bunch of court documents that were dropped a few days ago in the case of Lily and Jack Sullivan. So we're going to be able to go around to that eventually. We're going to have to do that, which I'm really looking forward to. So we've got a lot to talk about here on the channel. If you're new, this is your first time or second time, this is the kind of stuff that we do. Always glad to have you. You're always invited back. Wanted to just mention to you real quick that the best way to get in touch with me is through my website, gavinfish.com. You see this little icon right there? If you click on that, that will open a form where you can send me messages. I do read all of my messages. I don't respond to most of them because I just get hundreds of them, but I do read everything. So send that my way. If you click on the little fishy, that will take you over to the fish tank, which I don't know why it did that, but the fish tank is where we hang out on Facebook. You've got an open invitation to join us there as well. Just so much going on. So join us on the fish tank if you want to. It's up to you. Thank you to all of you who support me by liking, subscribing, sharing, my patrons over on Patreon, my members, my mods. Thank you so much to all of you guys. I will see you back tomorrow about 7:30 Eastern as always. Until then, I bid you adieu. Hope you take care of yourselves. Good night. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.